Just what would you do to explain the disconnect between what the Premier came out and said initially about you bringing a long gun into the building and then what we found out, I guess, last week?
Well, what I want to start with, I want to apologize to the people of the province. I want to apologize to the people who were working in the building, when this occurred around 10 years ago. I want to convey that apology sincerely because I mean it. This was a mistake. This was a bad error in judgment. It wasn't against the rules at the time, but look, I should not have done it, and I've taken accountability for that. Premier and I had a discussion, and I'm no longer government House Leader based on that discussion, which is a job I've held for a long period of time, and I am accountable though, and I look forward to making up for this mistake as we go forward. But it was a mistake, and I apologize for it.
What is the difference between, for the people stepping down as government House Leader but staying in cabinet? Like, what do you think the level there as far as not disclosing something or whatever you want to frame it?
Well, I mean, what this was, I let the Premier know as soon as I had a clear recollection of this. And it was on Thursday, I let him know, and that was when the discussion occurred, and we issued the statement on Friday. I did make myself available to media on Friday. I was in Meadow Lake. I was in Meadow Lake for the week, so I wasn't in Regina. I answered questions that were put to me and apologized at that point as well. It really was a mistake, and I apologize to the Premier. I've apologized to my colleagues as well for it. It shouldn't have happened. It's never happened since. It will never happen again.
And what kind of gun was it? Because I know it's been described as different things, but can you give me
It was a long gun, and like I said, my recollection, the clearest part is really walking, past the security kiosk. There were a number of times I went hunting from Regina. They were, approximately 10 years ago. I haven't really gone hunting from Regina in since then. So I know that's what the time frame was. Hunting for different things at different times, birds primarily. So I don't recollect precisely what it was, but if it was bird hunting, it would have been a shotgun and, properly cased and all the rest of it. What I do want to address as well, reason I brought this into the building, firearm safety is a hugely important part of my life. I, obviously am an avid hunter, have been since I've been a child with my father and grandfather, and my children as well. One of the tenets of firearm safety is you don't leave a firearm unattended in the back of your vehicle. And whether it's to go into a friend's house for 20 minutes on the way out of town, you bring your firearm into the residence because it can't get stolen there. And I should never have come by the building. That was the mistake. I shouldn't have come by the building. But that was why I brought it into the building, was because that is what you do in rural Saskatchewan when you're out hunting, but I shouldn't have done it.
Approximately 10 years ago, there was the Parliament Hills shooting. Did that ever come into your mind as, hey, I need to protect myself or my colleagues or anything like that?
No, we have security officials in the building. That's what they do, and they do a very good job of it.
When it comes to, the speaker said a lot of stuff, obviously. But he said that you wanted to possess permission to possess a handgun in the building. Where do you think he got that from? Do you have any theory on that?
That is entirely untrue.
What do you make of that claim?
I don't know where it came from or why it was made. There were obviously many accusations. I've said that the one that was accurate in retrospect was the firearm in the building, and the others are not true.
When it comes to allegations of bullying and harassment, there was one text that was read by the Premier. By the Speaker. The Premier sort of addressed that as being, there's breakdown of communication. He said today that we need to, work on communication between House leaders and whoever the next Speaker is. What's your response to the allegations that you and some of your colleagues were harassing the Speaker?
Well, I would say I shouldn't have sent that text, obviously. In the role, having done either House Leader or Deputy for a decade and a half, there are difficult conversations that happen between the speaker and between the government House leader and the opposition House leader, difficult conversations between government and opposition, whether that be on Board of Internal Economy matters, which sets the budget for the Legislative Assembly, which sets the budget for independent officers. There are difficult conversations. Whether it be on the House Services Committee, there are difficult conversations. Whether it be on House management issues, there are difficult conversations. That's not new. We've historically had some very challenging discussions, and having been in the role for every speaker who's occupied that office from 2007 until now, I know there are challenging conversations. When the place works best is when there is a regular communication and regular meetings. That had generally always been the case before. I know when Speaker Dutremont was Speaker, we would meet for breakfast, the opposition House leader, government House leader. Everything was on the table at that point. All, off the record and on the table. And, a lot of issues were able to be resolved that way. I think through COVID, that was part of the reason there was a disconnect, and there were, obvious reasons for that, which were legitimate, why there was no, morning breakfast and that sort of thing. But, we should have continued in doing those. There continued to be regular communication between government and opposition and those sort of things. But that is really, in my experience, having done the job, that is really a incredibly important part of it, is making sure even when you do have to have difficult conversations, you're able to, and you're able to do those, knowing that they're going to be appropriately dealt with. So, all that being said, I shouldn't have sent that text, and I know Laurie Carr, new House leader, will really make a major point of, if there is a new speaker, that we will make sure that after an election, that obviously that continues or gets back on track from where it had been.
Do you think there's work to be done to improve the relationship between the person in the speaker's chair and those in government who may or may not agree with certain rulings or the way things are being run, or do you think that changes with the new speaker? Do you think that's a chance to have a fresh start?
Yeah, I think it is. But again, tension is a natural part of the job. Speaker Dutremont and I used to have, very blunt conversations about a lot of things, and Speaker Doherty and Speaker Tucker and Speaker Toth, and there's difficult conversations that happen. It's a part of the building, and it's not always about the House. It's not about points of order. It's not about those things. It's often around the management of the Assembly, because through the Board of Internal Economy, government and opposition and the Legislative Assembly Service all jointly have a responsibility for those questions. And there can be legitimate differences of view on these things. And there are. We try to do these in a collaborative way. And you've probably heard me at the end of session speeches that traditionally are given. I often talk about the stuff that isn't seen behind the scenes, which is the incredible amount of collaboration and organization that has to go into just kind of a normal day. The Legislative Assembly Service have to decide whether broadcast services are going to be working from 7 to 10, or Hansard are going to be available to record. And that really is a discussion between government and opposition about how long debate's going to go in the House, or there are usually 20 different moving parts on a lot of these things. And that discussion really continued to happen with the Legislative Assembly Service and government and opposition on a lot of these things. But we need to make sure that everybody is on the same page, and that's the way the House works, and that's the way the House works best.
Do you take any responsibility for some of that breakdown?
You know what? I think that there probably was responsibility to go around. That being said, I think I'd shown in previous incarnations and iterations that I was fully prepared to, engage in discussions and continue forward even when they were difficult with previous speakers. And, unfortunately, we ended up in a different place here.
I have a couple more questions. We just talked to the opposition leader who said, one of her members, she's considering this a lie, so I'll use her words, to her about what has happened in this situation. That person would be out of cabinet. What do you make of
I
that
didn't,
response?
well, I didn't lie.
Okay.
I told the Premier as soon as I had a clear recollection about this, and that was based on discussions that I had had with family members about, what happened that 10-year period ago, and, I took accountability for it immediately.
And just to clear up one thing, the security, when you came in the building, to your recollection, what was their reaction? What was the interaction? Did you have to show your long gun? Did you have to explain what was going on?
I don't recollect the details. I remember walking by security and, they obviously let me go by. That's literally my recollection.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add on this?
No, I think that covers it, Adam.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you
Okay,
guys. Thank you
okay.
guys.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.